I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. President.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, with the first ever DLC.
Possibly even only to have ever happened.
Adam is literally sitting here like with his mouth open while like scarfing down. I don't know if it was like an apple with peanut butter or something.
Apple with peanut butter.
It's not pleasant to look at, guys.
With peanut butter.
Not pleasant to look at.
Which I assure you was worse than your apple with peanut butter. But ladies and gentlemen, we got something special. We got something special because we decided to go full try hard and try out, or
not even try hard. Sell out.
Just all the outs possible.
You're all a dirty motherfucker. Just dirty.
Yeah, so for those that are just listening to this, maybe they're listening to this Technical Alpha DLC going, what the hell is this? This is a special off-the-cuff talk today about the Machinima scam that we went through back in 2011. 12? Yeah, yep. between. Well, I mean, we were getting scammed. Well, since
there was
2011.
It was lengthy. Yeah. Well,
but we found out in 2012.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. And for those that don't know, what we decided to do is we had some stretch goals. So if you're watching this on YouTube, listening to this on iTunes, we want to say thank you because we reached either $3,500 on our Patreon account, or we have got 350. I think we said. Patreoners. So that's pretty incredible. We want to thank you for that. Let's get into it, I guess, Adam.
Yeah. Man. I hate talking about this. I'm going to be honest with you.
Do we want to ease into it? Do we want to ease into it?
I just no, because this will spin out into other stuff. I'm sure when we're talking about stuff because we have no structure to this whatsoever. But I can't stand talking about this because it stirs up all of the. I'm already a jaded asshole, but if you're wondering what was like the first thing that started the jaded asshole, it was this. This was like the
That's a lie.
The first. Oh no, it was 100% the case. YouTube when Jeff and I first did the LAGTV thing, when we first started it up. There were people making money on YouTube, obviously, but in the gaming world, it was pretty much non-existent. There was a handful of people making money, and that was it. There were no multi-channel networks, which is MCNs, which is now a ubiquitous term, or
also a lot more money in YouTube back then.
Yeah, it's because it was new, right? So it was the Wild West. It was the gold rush. It was
no real valuation.
Nobody knew what anything was worth. Everybody had all these companies had so much money, and if you got in and you were there super early, you made all that money, and you got in early enough that you could stay there long term without putting in a hell of a lot of effort. Or you got in, around the time Jeff and I did, and made a pretty good amount of money. But in terms of just raw YouTube funds, we didn't make filthy amounts of money. We just made pretty okay amounts of money, and then if you came after, you're fucked. Like the odds of you making,
we made I'm just gonna be straight up. We probably made $50,000 in a really good year of LAGTV. It's not that much money.
No,
I mean, between two of us, sure, nobody's gonna complain about making $25,000, pre-tax on playing video games, but at the end of the day, for the amount of success that we had, it wasn't all that much money when it was all said and done. We never got into that YouTube money type shit. We weren't at that level. And back then it was like, for gaming, YouTube at the time didn't allow you to monetize video game content. And also there was this thing where if you weren't a partner, you weren't able to upload videos more than 15 minutes. So, was it 10?
It was 10.
Wow.
God damn. Okay, well, 10 minutes. So that was
This
a
was
problem.
when YouTube still had 5-star ratings. Like we're
way back. So
back.
if you guys go and do some due diligence on here, so you know we're not bullshitting. If you go and you go to Life's a Glitch TV channel, if you're there already right now, open up another window, click on that little tab on the page for, I can tell you exactly what it is. You click on videos, and then you click on uploads, the down tab, or no, sorry, on the right-hand side, date added. Go click on oldest to newest. And if you look back there, you'll notice that the majority of our cast, in fact, I'm looking at it right now, our very first cast ever was a two-parter. So
Yes, 'cause it had
most
to
of
be.
our casts couldn't go over 10 minutes. So we even have one here. Our second cast was a three-parter, and our third cast was a three-parter. So back then, not only could you not make money, but you had to put videos up in parts if it was over a certain length of time, which back then we didn't have all that technology that we have now where you can just click record and go. This was a process. This was syncing up audio.
Yeah.
Were you guys using a Flash video recorder or whatever back then, or?
No, we were using Fraps.
Oh God, I remember.
Good old Fraps, where your video sizes were the size of Mandingo's dick.
No
Yeah, it was
OBS, no
bad.
XSplit,
And
none of
you
this
had
nice,
to
pretty stuff we
stick
have
'em-
nowadays.
You had to stick them into Sony Vegas, or back then, I think we used Sony Vegas even back then.
We used Vegas.
You guys
We used
used
Vegas
Vegas.
10 is what we had
Adam
available
spent
to us.
$600.
Jeff
on
still friggin'
Sony
chirps me
Vegas.
for not just yo-hoing Sony Vegas.
Well, that was at a different time when you were all like, you wouldn't pirate something or any of that
pirate stuff
shit,
when I
right?
make money off of it.
No.
Yeah,
that's why that was my.
We
that was
weren't
my
making
idea.
money off it. We weren't making money at
Yet.
the time.
Well, then you're just a fool, Adam.
we were just filthy casuals. Of course, once we started making money, it's much easier, and you can justify spending $600 on a software that is broken and garbage. But that's
don't get me
beyond the
started on
fact.
Vegas either.
But that's
Yeah.
beyond. That's beyond. But anyway, I just remember back in the day, Sony Vegas. Adam spent $600 on this thing, and we were cutting up videos. It was taking forever, and I ended up getting an
our
email.
computers were just so shit.
Oh, they're garbage, dude. All computers back then weren't that great. And I
Dude,
didn't
it's-
even
it's
have
so bad.
a good computer back then anyway. I was broke
No,
as
the
shit.
Fraps trying to run. I mean, we all know how hard StarCraft is on a processor to begin with. On the first 2 cores specifically, with 1 core it bombs into the fucking ground, and then you add Fraps raw recording on top of that. There is no compression to Fraps. It is 100% raw. One cast would be like 100 gigs of fucking file space. It was insane. Yeah, it was massive.
It was bad.
And
It was bad.
And then to render that out on the computers that we had and to edit it, the amount of time that we spent on YouTube content back then was just ludicrous. It was if I was doing it now, I'd probably give up. I'd be like, no, it's not worth it. This is fucking
Oh, it's
crazy.
definitely
Just not a chance in hell.
But the good thing about it was back then is we weren't motivated by money. We didn't, we had jobs. We weren't thinking that this was going to be a career. So we were just kind of doing it for fun. And I had a big passion for it. And we were getting some notoriety in some way. Even if it was getting 100 views on a video, we're like, wow, this is really cool. So I ended up getting an email from a dude from Machinima, or we thought was from Machinima. And I remember thinking that this was our big break. Like, this was like, just to paint a picture. I was working at Swish LA, making okay money. I mean, it wasn't
enough
a lot
to
of
live
money.
comfortably on your
Enough
own in
to
your
live-
apartment and stuff.
Well, I had Kayla with me, right? So,
Yeah.
If I was on my own, I'd have been paycheck to paycheck. I'd have been, broke.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But at the time, I was making enough money, and I typically had about $300 of money in my pocket at the end of the month that I could go and go to the movies or, treat myself, buy a new pair of shoes, or it was typically usually going out and drinking and, partying and stuff like that. But it was, some months might be 200 depending on the month. But, I wasn't living quite paycheck to paycheck, but I did not have a lot of money. And I wasn't in a position where I was working towards something. I was stuck, or at least I thought I was stuck. Adam was working at the time at the diamond place that he talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And, Adam was still in school, finishing school, getting ready to finish. So Adam had a bright future anyway. So to him, it was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But to me, it was like this was my meal ticket. Like, this was it. This gave me and when I say meal ticket, I don't mean like, I never thought ever that 2017, I don't know why I had to look at the date there, but 2017, and I'm 30 years old, and I'm still here now talking about something that happened 6 years ago, and we're still doing this. I didn't think that this was going to be it. I thought personally that if I could make another couple of $100 a month, and I could just, pay off the debt that I had. At the time was backed up, like I owed creditors money and, just regular life shit that just got in the way, having credit people call on my phone looking for payments. And, I had gotten evicted from an apartment building and I had owed a bunch of money and, I couldn't pay my power bill and, I lost my job back then. And so, having an opportunity to make money doing something that you love. And when I was as passionate as I was, this was everything to me. And Adam was always, I could tell he was excited, and he, maybe he can even share how he felt about it back then. I don't really know. I'm just going by what I perceived. But I always had this feeling that Adam, it didn't really matter to him. It didn't matter if this was going to be a thing or not, because he was focused and he. It didn't matter if it made money. If it made money, yeah, because he had his own. He had everything going for him, and I was on the opposite. So when I got the email and I was like, yo, Adam, they're offering us a deal, and I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but ultimately we ended up talking with this guy, getting a meeting set up with him on Skype, and we talked to him. We found out he was like from the UK or some shit overseas. And he seemed like a nice dude. Like, he just seemed like he watched our content. At the time, you only could sign with either Machinima or TGS.
TGS didn't exist.
Or, well,
it was Machinima. Machinima was the only one in the gaming space at the time that was a major MCN. TGS came up.
I'm pretty sure TGS was a thing, but it was Husky, and we were never going to be able to get on board with him. So I don't think we ever even just tried. I mean, I could look, because I know that there's a video that HD StarCraft made.
I want to, where he's in his living room pacing around talking about TGS. I want to say that TGS became available like inside of not even more than a month or two after we had signed with Machinima. Like, I remember, because I feel like we talked about.
So here, I'm looking at the video right now. He made the video September 20th of 2010 about TGS. So that's when they announced TGS. Now, I don't know exactly when.
I don't think it was available for a while.
Yeah, where that became an actual thing. Husky has a video. Here it is. Became a thing in March 2011, which is about the time when we signed.
So it was like
right there.
I remember it being like a fucking razor's edge in terms of, what it was.
I mean, either way, we knew that we weren't. We were never going to sign with them because Husky didn't like us, and we were on the come up, and we were taking viewers from him, even though everybody watched everything, and we weren't stealing anything. But that was sort of
another day.
Yeah, that's hey, it's DLC. Hey, I'll talk about anything. I don't give a shit. But so anyway, we sit down, we get offered a deal. I don't remember what the CPM was, what he told us. I have no idea. I just don't remember. if I looked hard enough, I probably have the bogus contract
It
in
was
my
a 50,
filing cabinet.
It was here. I'm pretty sure. I still have the contract. It was a, to my knowledge, or my recollection, it was a 50-50 split. But it was a 50-50 split on, well, as we'll get to. It wasn't the full amount. So we were getting more like 30%. Because basically this is what
I have
happened.
it right here.
So
I literally have it.
Yeah.
I have it right
I'm
here.
pretty sure it's a
in front of me.
50-50 split. It might
so
even be
we
60-40,
signed-
but I'm pretty sure it's 50-50.
Well, actually, this one here is for my MaximusBlack channel and MaximusBlack 2 because we signed everything.
We signed a bunch of channels.
We signed, we signed a bunch of them. I'm just trying to keep
CPM is like basically
$2.
CPM's
Here it is. I'm looking at it right now. $2. $2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what,
I was going to say $2.50.
Yeah, it's $2, which wasn't terrible back then. So basically, what that means for those that don't know is you get paid for every 1,000 views that you get paid $2. Now, if somebody had ad block on or an ad didn't play in that country or that area, then that wouldn't count towards the view count. But typically, every 1,000 views, we would roughly get $2. Obviously, those rates have gone up drastically over the years.
They've also, it's kind of weird, they go up and down, but it's interesting. For back then, they were actually extraordinarily high for how content
I mean
creation was viewed.
$2 back then in 2011 wasn't, I guess, really a terrible thing. So yeah, they were offering us the $2, and that's how many contracts I've signed, guys, over the course
There's
of
a few.
Oh, there's a shit ton. Some of them good, some of them bad. So $2 per 1,000 views, and I was doing the math back then, and I was thinking to myself, wow, we could make $500, maybe $1,000, depending on how much content we put out. We split that 2 ways, pretty good. So ultimately, we decided to sign with these guys, and or with this guy. And what basically happened is everything was great. I remember getting my first YouTube paycheck. I had paid myself back some money because I was the one that had a job back then, really, and was working a reasonable amount. So I went and bought Adam and I a shitty webcam. Or not a webcam, a camera, like a camcorder.
And it was a shitty camcorder.
It was a very actually, I just recently gave it to my mom. It was in my garage, and mom wanted it for a vacation or something. I don't know what she was using it for. But I remember spending $200, I do believe, or $180 on that on Kijiji, and also went and got a blue Snowball microphone.
Yeah, microphone.
And I think that's pretty much all I got. I mean, even back then, I was using one monitor, like, for everything. This little shitty, like, monitor. So we got the first YouTube paycheck. We reimbursed the money that I had put in there, and that was great. Second YouTube paycheck came, and I remember my cut was about $500, and I went to and we didn't get a check. It goes through PayPal, but I remember going to work that day and telling my coworkers that I made $500 making YouTube videos. And the reaction that I got from my coworkers, some of them were like, wow, that's really cool. How does that work? And then I had some people that were salty, like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, and I was telling people, like, I'm going to make this my job. Like, I'm going to start making enough money to quit my job. And I was saying that for a while. And every day I'd go in, I'd be like, yeah, guys, I released a new video. It's got 300 views. And I'd be showing them, like, my YouTube page and telling them to subscribe and all that other stuff. So, oh, your audio is
Panic. You need to, I was just typing to you. You need to, like, either restart back out and come back in on Zencaster or figure it out. But you're guessed the hell.
While he's doing that, I was just pumped.
What the fuck is happening right now? So I'm getting technical alpha, ladies. Jeff, can you hear me right now? Just nod if you can. Jeff, can you hear me? Holy shit. Can you hear me? Nod if you can hear me, Jeff. No? Okay, so what the fuck just happened? That's impressive. Hold on, I've got a solution. I've got a solution. I've got a solution. Give me a second.
Yo.
There, I can hear again. Now we just need to get
Some
Jeffrey in here.
Some shitty ass DLC from Jeff.
Yeah, worst
Think
DLC.
he would spend more time on it. Yeah, I think he'd spend more time on it.
Yo, testing.
There, I can hear again. Zen just completely crapped out for everybody. I lost all audio.
Okay, well, I mean,
Yeah,
you can just
well,
you
just
can
me.
just edit that in post anyway.
Yeah.
You can just cut it out.
No, it's
and
not. It's not
chop
a
us
really.
back
It's
in.
not a really big deal. I'm not that concerned about it. We're locally recording, so it's all good.
Yeah. we're all
Oh,
good.
okay. Yeah. So, so where was I? I was wow, that's some really shitty DLC.
This is the worst DLC.
It's the worst kind of DLC. It's all good. We're local recording, so
This is what happens when you have people in 3 different locations for a podcast.
yeah. So we when I got the paycheck, I knew at that point that I wasn't just gonna make a couple of dollars at that point. I was gonna turn this into a job. So when the opportunity came to finally sign with Machinima, of course, you know, if you have ever worked on something, you know, think of it as some people out there, they may be artists in terms of musicians or painting or whatever, and you were doing this your whole life for free and you're really good at it and you've got a passion for it, and then someone goes, you know what, hey, I'd like to sign that band and I'll give you $500 a month to play a local gig. Of course you're likely going to take that. You know, you don't have to change your type of content or anything like that. So that was huge for me. And then obviously when that happened, I became uber obsessed with YouTube, networking, all that fun stuff. I had little tricks that I would do on other people's YouTube videos where I would say, you know, I'd watch their video. This is why Husky never really liked this all that much.
That one neat trick.
The one neat trick that got us a lot of subscribers, and I'm sure that there are people listening to this right now that found us through this way, where I would go to a Husky video who I watch religiously, HD, who I watch religiously, and I would say, you know, hey, that was a crazy engagement, you know, sick Baneling bust or whatever, from a fellow StarCraft caster. And I wouldn't say, come check out my channel, come check out this video. I would just say from a fellow StarCraft caster. And people were like, fellow StarCraft caster. And of course they would check it out. And eventually, once LAGTV had a little bit of notoriety, obviously the people that were watching Husky or were watching us were watching Husky anyway. So they would see my comment and then they would like the comment, and then the comment would go up to the top, and it usually stayed there for a few hours. And when Husky's bringing in 40, 50,000 views a video, you know, even if I capture 100 or 200 people's eyes on that video per video, the shit, you know, was growing. And then obviously it got to the point where I just stopped doing that because Husky got pissed. And also we didn't need to do that anymore because we had got the notoriety needed to do that. And it was shameless advertisement, but it was in a very subtle way that I could see would, you know, tick off some people. But I felt as though I didn't give a shit. I actually just didn't care. Nothing was going to get in the way with my dreams, and I wasn't hurting anybody. And we put out great content, and we made something of ourselves, so we didn't just waste the opportunity. But that's how obsessed I was, and I was on the internet doing posts and shit 24/7. Like, I was calling sick from work just to get a video edited or do whatever. I was making sacrifices. So once we started making money and the checks started coming in each month, when Cheese Fails really blew up, that's when we started to actually, make $2,000 a month, and then, $3,000 a month. And we kind of floated at the $3,000 a month mark for the majority of LAGTV. But it had even spiked even higher. Obviously we've got to that $6,000 mark, which was our best month. It was right around that amount. But before I get further, Adam, did you want to add anything about the initial process, or what was going through your mind when it all started, or anything like that?
Yeah.
Because I don't think I ever really listened to you tell me, what you were thinking. Because I was going, right?
Yeah, well, you've been the way you've always been in life with everything, and that is you have laser focus for one thing at any given time, and you have blinders that are 4.5 miles long to each side of your head, and literally nothing that happens outside of those blinders exists. It doesn't exist, and it doesn't matter. All I need to see is this fucking 4.5-inch square in front of me for as long as the eye can see, and everything else is peripheral, whatever the fuck, don't care. Like, for me, random hip cramp. What am I, 90? Don't answer that. Yes, I am. I just wanted to cross my legs, man. That's all I wanted to do. So for me, when this all started, I mean, and I've said this part, a dozen times over as well, is, when Jeff first came over and kicked in my bedroom door because he just walked into the house because he's family, and just walks downstairs and I'm playing games, and he says to me, "Adam, we're gonna start a YouTube channel. We're gonna do this. I want to fucking start a YouTube channel." And I was like, "Okay." And that was literally
That's the
show.
LAGTV. That's exactly what happened. I'm like, that's
Verbatim.
not an exaggerated story. Jeff literally just walked into the house, said hi to my mom, comes downstairs, opens my door. I could have been fapping. I could have been doing anything. It didn't matter. Walking in the room, says, "Adam, I have an idea." And what? Probably. And it just says, we should start a YouTube channel. And I was like, yeah, sure, okay. Because at the time I was doing, I was already doing content to a degree online. It wasn't on YouTube, but I was doing written video game reviews and stuff on GameSpot when they still had a blogging community. And I had only just recently started a segment thing that I was doing on my blog that was called Life's a Glitch.
And you showed me it too.
I did. I showed it to you. I said, look, right, I'm already doing something like this. I was taking clips of glitches in games and doing little write-ups and stuff and showing people, what was going on. And I think I only got like 2 episodes deep before the YouTube thing started.
That would make kind of a cool YouTube segment, dude. You should bring that back alive, man.
Nah, dude, the internet is full of that shit now.
Yeah?
It's just absolutely crammed full of people talking about glitch stuff, and they'll do it better than I ever will. Donkey made an entire career off of that shit.
They ain't got your voice, bro. They ain't got your voice, Adam.
Maybe. I don't know. But that was that was it. And it was called Life's a Glitch. And I was like, why don't we call it Life's a Glitch TV or LAGTV? That's a pretty dope acronym.
I loved
and it was just like, yeah, absolutely. And we ran with it. And then LAGTV was born. And that's literally like the 5-minute conversation that happened to start LAGTV. But to talk more directly, I guess, about when everything started to come to fruition in terms of us having a video go kind of viral to a degree, and Jeff working, the trenches and pissing off virtually every other caster that was on YouTube at the same time, blowing up game facts, fucking message boards, and going on Blizzard's message boards and everywhere he could get his hands on, just same thing everywhere. While all that was happening, like he said, I was still in university. I was finishing university at the time, and then I was working. I had the job outside of it, and at this point, it never even crossed my mind that I was going to derail my my life's current direction so dramatically. I always, to a fault, eventually to a fault, I could never commit fully to content creation of any kind as a legitimate career for a number of reasons. One was I had my entire identity was around academia and my education and you know, my goals of you know, what I wanted to do in business and all these things were.
You had a fucking.
He had a full degree and stuff.
He had a fucking, no joke. This is the type of guy, I'm trying to paint a picture here for you. This is the type of guy that had a whiteboard, not a whiteboard, but a bulletin board on his wall.
I had that.
And it would have like his life goals up there. Like it would have like, you know, getting this by this age, saving up this much money, donating this much to the church, doing, you know, it had fucking it all down there. This dude was calculated, and he scrutinized pretty much everything was planned and calculated. Now, I don't know if that was the environment that Adam grew up in. Maybe he can
well, it's a bit like it's a bit
or
like
that's how you're programmed.
Both of my parents are people that put thought into literally every action that they do. Neither of my parents are the type to just do things on a whim. They aren't off the cuff people. They never were. Dad's a scientist, so like it was already a part of his personality, right? He was a metallurgical scientist for the Department of National Defense for 35 years. That's his mindset, always has been, is everything is calculated and laid out and logical, and I get a lot of that from Dad. Mom is obviously very similar in that regard, otherwise they would have made a terrible couple. But you know, she was well thought out, but on the emotional side of things, and I got a lot of that from Mom. And so everything is always, I always had, and it still do to this day, it's my personality where I only want to do something once and do it well. I don't want to go back and do it a second time. And so I have 101 contingency plans for virtually every step that I take. And if I don't have those 100 contingency plans, I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. And it became ingrained in me because literally all the way up through university, that worked really well for me. That never failed me. Everything always went pretty much exactly how I had planned it. There was never really a misstep that was some catastrophic event. You make mistakes, but then there were those contingencies that were there that kind of, fell into place. So panic. So that was when I was going into LAGTV. I always had 1,000 contingencies, and it was never. And so, like I said, to a fault, when it came to content creation, I had a very hard time committing 100% to it, especially because I had already done university and I had a career literally placed in front of me. Like we discussed earlier in the podcast, I had two incredibly profitable and promising options put in front of me that said, "Hey, Mr. Morehouse, we'd love to have you. We'd also love to have you. We're going to tell you, basically, just tell us how much you want to get paid and then come work for us." Yep. But like Jeff said, the thing that always would bring me back and keep me there, even if it was only to a half measure, was that it was something I enjoyed doing. It was in the video game industry. I always wanted to kind of work in the video game industry, but there was not a lot of profitability to it because nobody was making money in the video game industry unless you owned the fucking publishing house with the developer. Like, nobody makes any money, and that's still pretty much the case as it stands today. So I know I wanted to be in the industry, but to that point, this kind of thing didn't exist, and it was a whole new frontier, and it was exciting, and it was part of that industry, and so it always brought me back in. And so while I was never 100% committed to it, and part of me wishes that I could have been, but if I went back in time, I wouldn't be able to convince myself. It's part of my personality. I never would have been able to tell myself, turn that switch off, take that bulletin board off the wall, stop doing all that shit. It's just not going to happen. I still wish I could have, been able to do that, because it obviously would have probably worked out a lot better for me on an individual business level.
I have a question for you now, Adam. Is there a whiteboard in any part of your house right now?
No.
So
No. There is not a single
take
whiteboard.
A crowbar to the
nothing.
one you had?
That baby came down when YouTube happened, because what happened was, what YouTube did do to me in terms of how I conduct a business and everything else, was that it forced me to actually have to do things on the fly. It was because everything was the Wild West and almost nobody knew what the fuck they were doing, and still to this day, 80% of the people in this business have no fucking idea what they're doing, and that's the people that own these businesses, that run them. Nobody fucking knows what they're doing. There's like 4 people, and that's it. Everybody else is just blindfolded, running through with Stevie Wonder. That was, what made me have to change that a bit about myself, was to actually have to roll with the punches a bit more. And when that happened, the whiteboard thing came down, and the having 1,000 contingencies went out the window, and I eventually committed to it. But for me, as somebody who was not a pure entertainer like Jeff, it was a little late to join the party, because I needed to be able to go on the back of the success of LAGTV earlier, and I never did that. And so I shot myself in both feet on that front. But still obviously doing well enough, I'm not living on the street, but at the same time, I'm not as far ahead as I could have been. So that's always one of those look back and go, what the fuck were you thinking? But that's what it was for me to answer that, come back around before handing it back to you, was, I never looked at content creation as something, for me personally. I knew Jeff was going to do very well regardless, because Jeff's always been center of attention, class clown, look at me, I will do literally anything short of lop off my own arm to get attention type guy. And that's what you need to give yourself the best opportunity. It doesn't guarantee it, but give you the best opportunity to be successful in this business. And I was always the straight man, for obvious reasons. It's my personality, and while that can do well, it almost always needs to be paired with a wacky dude to be the contrast. It's the juxtaposition. So I can be quick and witty and the dry humor thing, but you need to be able to play off of the juxtaposing wacky crazy dude, and Jeff is the wacky fucking crazy dude. I think anybody that goes to chainmail to a fucking sushi restaurant is a little bit touched, and Jeff is a little bit touched because he did it and he made a shitload of money fucking doing that shit. So
dirty esports money.
That's kind of what it is. So
you probably keep the Halifax sushi market running on its own, like just from you.
Absolutely,
definitely.
So that was for me was just never
taking an insurance policy out on you. You die, they get paid to make sure that they
go
continue.
under.
They go under.
But yeah, that was basically it for me. It was just never something I could take 100% seriously. Obviously, I do now, and I put a lot of effort into everything I do, but it was very difficult for me to view it as such because, and for reasons we're about to get to as well. Like when Jeff continues this story, I'm looking at it, and from a business perspective, I'm going, this isn't going to suddenly get a hell of a lot better anytime soon. Yeah. Do I really want to commit so hard to something that is so volatile? And so that was a big hurdle for me. So that will be where we can hop back into the story where we have now signed on with this individual representing Machinima and we've just hit LAGTV's first big bump in success in terms of hitting it big view-wise.
Yeah, so everything was going good. I'm not sure exactly how much time went by, probably a year or close to a year of being on this contract with this individual. I won't say his name. I do remember his name. I won't say his name just out of respect, but even though I shouldn't have any for him, but just not to stir up any more shit, or if he's in a position of, I don't want to ruin anything for him. We're all young and done stupid shit, but yeah, a bunch of time went by. Everything was great, man, and I was working really hard towards being able to quit my day job, and it was summer of 2011 actually, where I was starting to make enough money off LAGTV where I remember even getting like a $1,200 or $1,300 month, and I had even started streaming. And this is where PanicSwitched comes into the play, and Panic was the guy that Panic was really the guy that allowed me to not directly quit my day job. Like, he was a big supporter, and he definitely donated there's a lot of money over the years, but in that specific time, getting $50 from Panic was like a day's work for me at Swiss Chalet. So what would happen, I would do these 24-hour live streams. If I had raised $100, I would do a 24-hour live stream. I'd call in sick from work. And what that allowed me to do, I remember the first $100 Panic gave me, he said, go buy a webcam, please. And I went out and bought a webcam. I had made the $100, bought the webcam, and I called in sick from, I didn't even call in sick from work. I ended up giving my shift away. And at this time, that was what's so great about my bosses, is they were so supportive of everything that I did. There was a time, I won't go into too big of a tangent, but there was a time where Kale and I were making diaper cakes out of diapers.
Oh, I remember that because I did the fucking branding for it. I remember.
Yeah,
fucking
so
doing that
we had like KJ diaper cakes, and we what we would do, if you guys don't know what a diaper cake is, go to Google and type in diaper cake, and that's literally what we were making. They're basically a bunch of baby products, where you put a bunch of diapers and you make a cake out of diapers, and you add stuffed animals and soothers and all this baby related shit. And my bosses were so cool that they let me set up a table in the lobby of the restaurant, and this was the GM, like this was the owner, and put a diaper cake out there and a bunch of business cards, and they let me do that for weeks. And I was getting sales, and there was 25,000 people a week that were coming into the restaurant. Like it was free advertisement, and you don't see a lot of bosses that are. And I think they even. I know one of them for sure. One of my managers, even at one point when I was starting to make it, he was rooting for me. Like he was like, "You deserve better than this job. You have the personality to not be here. Like, do something with yourself." Like he was pretty much, he was like, that really good teacher that you would have in high school that was like always, you might have been like, for me anyway, I was always the class clown. I was always sort of a pain in the ass. I never really succeeded too far in grades. I was just an average student, but I was always the center of attention. And I remember I had one teacher, Mr. Church, who always told me, you're going to be something. Like, don't fuck this up. Like and then my boss at Swiss Chalet was sort of that, but in a different way. And obviously it was more impactful when I was an adult, especially since I was already kind of at rock bottom. I had already been evicted from an apartment building and lost all the stuff that was in there, going home, and the locks were changed, and having nothing, being 3 months behind on everything. And that's for another time. But it was motivating to have people like root for me. That wasn't my family. It was just nice. So when I would call in and get my shifts changed, they were totally okay with that. They're like, dude, go follow your dreams. And I remember I did a 24-hour live stream because Panic gave me $100, and during that 24-hour live stream, I remember hitting like 600 viewers, and I had made $400 in a day, which was
You were one of the first
life-changing.
people doing 24-hour streams.
24-hour live streams, yeah. And at the time, it was Justin TV.
Twitch didn't exist yet. It was just Justin TV.
Twitch didn't exist. It was kind of just about to start up. And I was doing these 24-hour streams at least like once a week, putting in these crazy hours, and people were starting to notice me. And there was this whole quest to Grandmasters thing. So I started having a bit of success outside of LAGTV, and it was offsetting the money to the point where I was now making as much money streaming and doing LAGTV with this Machinima deal, where I was starting to contemplate quitting my job. So I don't know if I skip forward some, it gets to the point where I end up talking to, it was either Hunter StarCraft or Force SE2. It was one of these guys.
I think it was one of these guys. Two. Yeah, it was
one of them.
Two.
I don't know who it was. Might have been one of them. May have been.
I actually think you was
someone
both
else.
because after you heard from one and you brought it to me, and then you started asking around and you heard it from like 3 or 4 people.
Multiple people
were talking about it.
Yeah. So I had heard that I was, because he was like, man, you guys are doing really well. You know, this When Cheese Fails thing's really doing great. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm like thinking about quitting my day job. You know, we're making I was, say $2,000 or $3,000 a month. Right. And they're like, that's it. Like, I'm making $4,000 and I don't have as much viewers as you. And I'm like, well, how much is your CPM rate and stuff like that? And I'm pretty sure it was the same, like $2 or whatever the case may have been. So I was like, I got the same CPM. Like, why is it that you're making more money? So instantly that went off my head as a flag. And I told Adam this news. And so what we did is we basically cornered this guy. We pretended we were doing like a regular update, because we would get on Skype with this guy fairly regularly and just shoot the shit or talk about content or whatever the case may be, because we thought he was a Machinima rep. And we basically put him on the spot and we asked him, about this. And it was just like a really sketchy conversation. So we ended up contacting Machinima. And I'm not, I could be wrong about some of this. And Adam, you can, correct
I know this
me
part
if
well
I'm,
because I spent a lot of time on the phone legal shit with this guy.
Yeah, so
Like,
we ended up talking, and I'll pass this over to you in a sec, but we ended up messaging Machinima, and that's when we found out that I had told them, or we had told them, or whatever, that our paychecks just didn't seem normal, because we talked to other people that were under Machinima and they were making a lot more money. And that was when they said, well, we've been paying you. We gave them a number and they're like, we've been paying you more. Like, we've been paying you this much. And that was when everything, that's when we knew we were getting scammed.
It was that was part of the problem. Before we even got to that point, what happened was they first of all, they said, we don't even have contracts for you.
Yeah.
We don't have a contract with your name anywhere in our database.
Right. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
And I remember talking to the guy on the phone, because while this was happening, I was working at the diamond company, and I would be like on lunch break and shit, and I'd lock myself in a closet and be on the phone for like my entire lunch break, having these conversations with Machinima and with the guy that we had originally signed with, trying to I was playing the Sherlock thing. I was trying to catch, getting information from Machinima and then trying to catch this other dude in his shit. You had to catch him up in whatever was going on. So Machinima just comes out and says, look, we legit don't even have a contract for you. And I said, how is that even possible? We have at the time we had 3 channels, all signed simultaneously. I said, somewhere you have to have these contracts. They were letterheaded, printed, honest to goodness, out of Machinima's legal.
I would show you
from
my
Machinima.
All info's on there.
So I said to them, well, there's, at that point it had become clear to me what was happening. And I said to them, look, you have a major problem right now. There is a dude out there that is likely doing this to not just us, but a shitload of other channels. He is obviously representing you guys and taking massive cuts out of every one of these channels that he's running through you guys as an intermediary. And they said, well, we have him for a channel, but we don't have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So what ended up happening was they get back to us a little after this, and as it turns out, the guy that had appropriated Machinima's contracts and was posing as a Machinima representative was literally impersonating channel owners. He had the contract that Machinima had for his individual channel that he then wiped clean and repurposed and was using outside of Machinima's knowledge, and then being an in-between, exactly, and was impersonating all of these channel owners. So he had an email that was Jeff's, with Jeff's name and everything else, that he was using as a contact point with Machinima, and he had one for me, and he had one for all these other places. So he was literally impersonating a huge number of people, and then taking 50% of all revenue coming through. So Machinima would give him the real CPM rate. He'd take 50% of that and pass down the rest of that to the people that he was swindling, basically. Which is, I mean, it's
like
it's
it got
50
so
shades of,
it got so crazy that when I talked to Machinima, because we got on the phone with the whole board of them, like there was a fucking room full of young people that have fucked up hard, and they told us the emails that he had. And he used my LAGTV MaximusBlack or whatever, but he changed the letter to make it look like this. He also told us that he needed access to our Life's a Glitch TV email to sync up on the YouTube's back end to get the channel connected. And then he went in and he filtered our emails so that all of our paycheck stubs and everything never hit our inbox. It would go to this fake Life's a Glitch TV email that he made that resembled it, and we would never know the difference. The only, because Machinima would actually send, and I actually was on our...
they sent the invoices but were redirected?
They were redirected, so we never got the invoices. And it wasn't until when we re-signed when we started actually getting invoices via email. But our invoices, what he did is when he paid us via PayPal, he would write in the month and, this is what your CPM was for the month of April 2011 or whatever. And we would think nothing of it because we didn't know any better. We were just two guys.
Nobody did. This was literally brand new.
Yep.
Like I said before, Wild West. Nobody had any idea of anything. Contracts were shittily written. Everything was just brutal. So he's doing all this shit. So the amount of money this guy's making off of other people is just absolutely insane. Just massive amounts of money.
Like just us alone, he was gouging 50% of our money, and then
Just
however
major
many
money.
channels he had going there, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't pulling in, 10,000 US a month. Just
so at this
scamming
point,
channels.
we got to the point where I knew this was happening, and we hadn't brought that guy into it very much because we were doing all of our due diligence with Machinima. and straightening this all out. And Machinima said, well, we need to, figure this out. And I said, I'll contact this guy. I'll start talking to him. I'll see if I can catch him up in his shit and see, what can be done here. Because Machinima was just like, look, we're just going to close this guy out from our end, obviously. And we're going to have to address this later on. So, or finish this up afterwards. But I said to them, I said, well, are we going to get our money?
Yeah. They didn't want to give us their money.
Because full disclosure, this guy had $30,000 of ours when it was all said and done. And we wanted to get that money back because it was $30,000. So
how many Canadian pesos is that?
That's a lot of Canadian pesos.
Back then, it was like the dollar was relatively even.
Yeah, it wasn't all that. It wasn't, but it's still $30,000. So,
that's life-changing money, man, for guys like us. That's life.
At that time, especially
changing money.
So, this guy. So I asked them, and they said we can't. And Machinima was like, we can't do anything. The money's already out of our thing, and we're not going to double pay. Yeah. So this is between you and them now, which was a bunch of bullshit. But the problem was, Machinima was a multi-million-dollar corporation, and we couldn't just suddenly magically fucking take them to court. Despite the fact, also they're in the States, we're in Canada, and the guy that we were dealing with was from fucking England. So we had 3 different things. The contracts that we signed with that guy weren't even legitimate contracts. They couldn't be enforced. But he has the money already anyway, and so it wasn't even that, like, otherwise the contracts would fall under California law, but the contracts didn't fucking exist. We didn't have any contracts with Machinima. Machinima only had a contract with him for his own personal channel. So this is literally just a fucking crapshoot. So the only thing that we could have done, if anything, against Machinima would be to take them to court for not having, no due diligence and to pay us based on the fact that somebody was was representing them, and they weren't stepping in to have any, to help rectify the situation. So I had to figure out what we were going to do to try and get some of this money back. And I had to call the guy up, and the time came where I had to let him know that we knew what was going on.
Yeah, we knew.
So I did this again on lunch break.
And that was awkward.
It was really awkward. I literally called this guy up on lunch break. I actually said in the marketing department, I went to the marketing manager and I said, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I've already done all of my work that I can do for the day. I'm going to go. I have this phone call for my business outside of work. Full disclosure, I'm going to be in there for a while. And she said, don't worry about it. Just fucking go. So I go into the closet. I close the door. And I'm on the phone for 2.5, 3 hours with this guy. And I let him know, I said, look, I'm going to be straight with you. We know that you're fucking us and you're fucking a bunch of other people. Machinima doesn't have contracts with her name. We already know that you're committing fraud. You're literally impersonating both of us simultaneously under technically unenforceable contracts. And you also managed to have 30,000 of our dollars. Machinima is already cutting you out of this, and though we can't go after Machinima, we will absolutely go after you. Because for $30,000 and with all of the information that we have, including information brought on by a multi-million-dollar company, we can pretty easily win this in court if we take it to court. We have this big, long conversation where he's trying to tell me that he doesn't have all of the money and he's spent a whole whack of it and it's all gone and whatever. And first it was, I can only get you 10. Then it was, I might be able to get you 12. Then it just kept going north and north and north and north and north. And it capped at, I think I got 15 or 16 of it back, was the most I could get out of him. And it was only after twisting his arm for fucking ever. And at that point, with that much back, I think I don't remember
think
if I brought it to you.
I actually think I received about $6,800 of my cut.
Yeah, it was something around 15.
Yeah.
By the time it was all said, it's close to that.
Yeah.
And he said, I literally have none. I don't even have anything more than that. At first, I was like, well, that's not my problem. I don't really fucking care if you don't have the money.
Shit.
You can get the money. You can sell your body, whatever the fuck you need to do to get me my money. You can do that. So we eventually got it, but we only got that much back on it. We got about half of it, but for the amount of trouble that would have been to get the other half, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. So he said, it's a shame that it went down like this. He denied it the whole way through because he had to. Because if he mentioned anything, then he loses in court immediately if it ever comes to him. So he has to
recording all the conversations and everything, right?
Plausible deniability at all times.
Yeah.
Just have to constantly deny it. And he's like, oh, what a shame. And I actually said, dude, just, I appreciate what you're doing right now. I understand what you're doing, but fuck off. Just stop. Just, if you have like a shred of fucking, self-respect or decency, just stop. Just don't talk. Just give me my money. Get it to me. And I gave him a timeline. I think it was a couple of months. I gave him 2 months or something to get me the money. And I said, or we're just going to sue you, and you're not going to be paying me 15, or you're going to be paying me all of it.
He was dicking us for a while too. Like even he would give us a date, and then the money wouldn't show, and we would try and get a hold of him. He wouldn't answer the calls, nothing. And then I remember eventually, I was at work, and I saw the email, and that was the show, and I was like, wow, we just got paid. He paid us. I actually couldn't believe it. Like, as I thought, I thought, and we Adam and I got to the point where we're like, we were talking about who's going to go to the UK and serve this guy. Like, we were like legit ready to sue him. And we were going to go that far into it. And we were making enough money that, we could have funded it to go and prove a point. But we were just kind of hoping things would settle outside of court. We wouldn't have to go through all that trouble, and thankfully it did. But one of the good things about it was when we finally got paid. At that point, I basically knew I could quit my job when I found out we were getting ripped off. So I had already put in my notice, and I was ready to go. And unfortunately, Adam and I couldn't talk about the situation. When we finished with this, we talked to Machinima again. And Machinima basically did everything but suck her dicks.
Well, they didn't want to get in trouble, right? They were like, we're going to give you everything.
If
we're
that
going
went
to give
public, they'd be host.
Oh, yeah.
Went public, they'd be host.
Exactly.
So
they were like, we're going to give you premium. We're going to give you a premium rate.
We were getting $3.50 or some shit per 1,000 views. And they were giving us a series on Machinima, where that's probably where a lot of you guys found out about us, because a lot of subs came from that Machinima
50,000 views
when
of
cheese
video
fails.
on that.
50,000 views. Like we were getting checks from Machinima like a year later from those videos for
the money
$100.
On the Machinima ones were a $5 CPM rate.
Oh, that's right. It was $5, and then they upped our CPM on our other channels like $3.50.
Yeah, and then it was $3.50 for our own channels.
Yeah. So I mean, we ended up
big.
Yeah, and they were basically giving us the CPMs that they would give the higher channels, but they gave it to us not only so we wouldn't talk. I mean, we obviously didn't say, like, they didn't go, we'll give you this if you don't talk, but it was kind of this unspoken, like, we're gonna make it right. We're sorry about this, and the money that you guys will make off these series, hopefully you'll recoup the money that you guys lost through the scam. So it kind of all ended up working out, but that's why at one point, our content was a little fucky. We were moody. We were dealing with Machinima. We had made these announcements. We were making big changes. I was quitting my day job. Everything. It was kind of all happening at once.
Shoot.
And it was all new to us too. And Adam was already on the fence about all this. And to have this happen and all this stress was not helping, right? I'm not sure what Adam's parents were saying about the whole thing.
Well, that's the other thing, right? My mom and dad are looking at this going, look, mom and dad support me with anything I do. I wanted to become a drag queen stripper. They'd probably be behind it. It doesn't fucking matter. But
Are you already a drag queen stripper?
Maybe. That's for another DLC. That's for another DLC, Cat. No, they supported me through the whole thing, but they obviously also brought concerns to me. When you hear that you're out 30 grand in a fraud case, and you're dealing with all this shit, which in an already volatile as hell environment for a job or a career in this content creation shit. Obviously, they brought their concerns and said, look, we're super happy that you're doing something that you love and you enjoy and you're making really good money at it, but this kind of stuff is, that's the kind of stuff that can end you. So, they're always saying just to be, to tread lightly, so that you don't get yourself caught in a corner. Exactly. So, and then, so what spiraled out from that was Machinima, along with what those things were, gave us a laundry list of things that they wanted to do for us because they liked our channel and our personalities and wanted to try and push us into different directions on the Machinima channel than just StarCraft. Like we had alluded to earlier, I think Jeff said earlier today, was the whole two best friends play or whatever, or what are they called? Well,
Game
that's
Grumps.
one of them. Game Grumps.
Oh man,
that kind of content, right? Because they saw us do our 50,000 or 40,000 views of video for Portal and Resident Evil and shit like that, and they said, that we can definitely make this work. We put this up on the main channel, and we'll run with it, and that excited us because it gave us a chance to expand beyond StarCraft.
Yeah, we had some leverage then too, right?
And had a lot of leverage. Yeah, exactly. So when we went through with that, the downside is none of that ever happened. Literally none of it ever happened. We had 5 or 6 meetings over the course of an entire year where they would make a new meeting where we would revisit it again, and they'd say, bring us ideas for what you guys want to do. And we would keep saying, well, you guys wanted us to do a Game Grumps thing where it's us two playing games, new games, old games, good games, bad games, obscure shit, whatever, and put our spin on it and do a personality gig, because at that point in YouTube, personalities were what were driving channels. It was no longer differentiation. It was saturated as shit. So everybody had to just ride on personality, which is what we had. And but they always would say, we're not looking for that. Do Minecraft.
Every time. Minecraft.
Do Minecraft. We want Minecraft. Give us more Minecraft. And they already had
oh my god,
about,
million
about
Minecraft channels.
10, 12 major Minecraft channels that were running on the main Machinima channel, and they wanted more of that. So we eventually did Minecraft on the second channel or whatever, but they never posted it. They never posted it to Machinima, because then they said, when we finally started doing it, they said, oh, well, we already have so much Minecraft. And we were sitting there going, are you fucking serious right now? For the last year, we've been having the same meetings over and over again to do, what we already decided was going to be probably the best for us as far as promotion goes, and you guys could push us, and everybody makes more money. And now you tell us to do Minecraft for all this time. We finally do Minecraft. Minecraft at the time was doing relatively well for us. We were getting 40 or 50,000 views on Minecraft. And then you don't put the Minecraft on the channel.
Yep.
And we sat there going, what the fuck? So it got to the point where all we were getting was paid by Machinima. Yep. And even that, there were late payments after late payments after late payments, and it was excuses
back then,
and everything else.
That was what the scene was. Like, no esports or media company, like New Age one, was paying on time. They're doing their business pretty shittily. This might see their pants.
And I remember getting some money from, actually the first sponsor money I ever received was from Quantic. It was from I think that's like I'm almost certain.
That's
I'm almost certain
that
that was the first amount of money I got. And as much as I could sit here and shit on Quantic all day long, and trust me, that can be another DLC. I can fucking stick it to those slime bags. Not all of them. There's a couple of good managers on there that were great, and I still am sort of in contact with them. But there were some snakes on Quantic. But one thing that they did well was pay on time.
They paid on time.
And
until
they
the
paid
new
on
guy started.
time. And that was when that happened for me. I was like, oh my God, somebody actually is paying me when they say they were going to pay me.
On time.
Because with Machinima, especially when I was just making enough money to basically pay my bills, like a late payment was like a late rent. Like there were times where I remember I had to ask my mom to bail me out to pay my cell phone bill because I hadn't gotten paid yet, you know. That's the kind of fuckery that was going on back then. Obviously, it's gotten a lot better. I mean, I still have some things in my life now where I'm chasing money, but it was back then. It was straight up the wild, wild west, and people did what they wanted when they wanted because there was no repercussions. They could just say "fuck you," I'm not paying you, and you couldn't do shit about it. You couldn't do
It's
shit.
still like that.
Yeah, it is to an extent.
But it
there's
was
is a bit more on the
Yeah.
line now, you know, especially with reputations and shit like that. And there's a lot of streamers and YouTubers now that actually have money. So, you know, if you really pissed a guy off pretty bad or a girl, I mean, they could actually
They could do
fight you.
damage.
They could
Yeah.
do damage to you now.
Well, if you're
But back then,
big,
you
you're
couldn't
getting
do
paid
shit,
on
right?
time regardless. You're
Yeah, of
big,
course.
you're getting paid, you're getting the star treatment. You get everything you could ever fucking want. But that's not
course.
everybody, and there's lots of people getting shafted at the low end. But you know, as far as Twitch goes, you know, they pay on time pretty much every time. That's just Twitch, you know. It's but as far as, you know, sponsorships and esports organizations, it is still everywhere. Where people are getting paid nothing. In fact, one of our good buddies here, Mr. Kim, one of our old friends, struggles with that all the time in his scene. He sees it all the time. So like it's, but the thing for us was all of this was on the back of all of this case that we just dealt with Machinima. We were like, guys, you got off basically free.
Free. Yeah.
And
We did
and
the
all
work
you had
for
to do. We did all of the work for you. We did everything.
Yeah.
You tell us that you're going to do something. You do absolutely none of it, and then do the opposite at the end, and then try and drop us. But you won't. But at the same time, back then it was also a 3-year contract. Was the standard. And so we still had 2 years on our contracts at that point, and other people started getting paid more money. Machinima was no longer the place to get paid decent CPMs. Other people were starting to pay far more and offer better services, and so we were frustrated because we weren't getting anything
Couldn't
that we were
leave.
promised. We were getting paid shittily, not on time. It was a gong show, but yet we couldn't leave contractually for 2 more years, and they wouldn't let us. We requested, look, guys, can we just walk away from this contract? They kept saying, no, you can't walk away from the contract. We're not going to let you go, which was just infinitely infuriating because they wouldn't do anything for us, but they wouldn't let us go. They wouldn't pay us on time, but yet they wouldn't, you know, again, they wouldn't let us go. So at that point in time, our soon-to-be good buddy Robert shows up on the scene. And Robert is a diehard StarCraft LAGTV fan. He's one of those guys that remembers episodes that neither Jeff or I ever have any recollection. We have no idea, nothing.
We love those
Like,
guys. We
he'll-
love those guys.
Every time you talk, or you have a conversation with Robert, he'll make a reference, and he thinks that we remember, and we're like,
we don't remember.
nope. no, got nothing. Not a clue. But Robert was a lifesaver for us because an incredibly well-connected business individual from across the pond, and coincidentally had contacts with the people that funded Machinima. Literally the people that backed and invested in Machinima to become a company. He knew the person who signed off on that shit and had worked with them in the past, and people in the industry knew who Robert was. And so he said, hold my beer. I'm going to go and deal with this. So he goes off, and we were like, we can't pay you, we can't like whatever. And he just said, don't worry about it. I'm gonna do this. I love you guys. I love your content. I'm gonna go do this for you. And so he goes off and he contacts this person, and he says, and he outlines everything. And the person was like, are you fucking me right now? Seriously, they're doing that shit. And so that person goes over to the CEO of Machinima and says, hey, this is happening. I just got this contact from my buddy Robert over here, who's telling me what's going on with some of the guys. And at the time, we were one of the bigger channels under Machinima. So one of your biggest people, what's going on here? And the CEO was like, I didn't know this was happening, because just like in stuff that still happens now, this is a very young industry. People that work in this industry, super young.
Yep.
Everybody
super stupid too.
is just, they bring on their, super stupid. They bring in their own friends, and everybody is protecting everybody else's ass. So all of this stuff, all of this stuff got sandwiched in this one little tier of low management at Machinima. It never went north of there. Nobody with any power really found out about it. And then when that happened, shit hit the fucking fan. People were fired left, right, and center. Shit just went boom real quick. And in 48 hours, I had papers in my email that said, we are letting you go. Thank you. We apologize. Go do your thing. And I was like, oh my
people
God,
don't realize, like
justice.
A lot of people don't realize how important like payroll and contract payouts are. Like if they don't happen, there's like a lot of recourse that people who did the work have. It's just that, especially this day and age, no one realizes, oh yeah, you can go talk to a lawyer or whatever. Or they just don't bother.
I fully believe that the people that were in charge at Machinima, they fucked with the wrong guys. And I think when the management went down and talked to them and looked into shit, they probably found a lot more than just us. Fuck that what we were doing. There was probably
like, you guys know what you're actually doing.
There was probably fucking just the amount of fuckery that was probably going on.
They didn't know about
the
the fraud case.
No, they didn't know.
So
about
when they
shit,
found
dude.
out about that, and so they find out that contracts got leaked and were being used by other people and representing the company. Oh my God, the heads rolled.
That's like
so bad.
That's like
it was a Game of Thrones episode.
Like,
shit was just everywhere.
Yep. That's pretty much the show. You know, it would be a crazy M. Night Shyamalan type ending if we found out the guy who scammed us was actually working at Machinima and was siphoning the money out all on the back end. How crazy would that be?
Just bonk, and yet that wouldn't even shock me. I don't think, but I'm not going to put that up there.
I'm not going to. I'm just, that's a joke.
Nobody was that smart.
I mean, holy shit, that would have been so crazy. Oh my God, that would have been so crazy. But yeah, Robert came in and fucking dropped the hammer. Talked to the right guy. The right guy went over, was like, hey, we're feeding your company money. What the fuck are you doing? And the guy was like, what are you talking about? And he went down there and he just started dropping the fucking hammer of Thor. And we got our channels released pronto.
Oh yeah,
you guys weren't even asking for much. You're like, not more money. Like we just want out.
No, let us want out. That was it. We just want out.
You know,
we got out.
Do whatever the fuck you want to do, but just let us go. And they let us go,
real quick. And then we had made a YouTube video saying we were leaving Machinima, and you know, we kind of like told people that there was an issue, but we didn't get into it, and we were just happy to be out, and then we went to another network.
We went to TGS.
Yep, and then we've been with them ever since. They've obviously
they did exactly what Machinima did.
Yep,
which was nothing.
Yep,
literally, it was like this is at this point. It was when I was done with YouTube.
Do they at least pay on time?
That was the only differentiating factor was that they pay on time. Now, of course, when we got in with TGS, they were only TGS for about 6 months, and then it turned into Maker, after the 6 months. So it's not like we had a really long period of it being TGS. It just went over, and as soon as Disney took over, obviously shit was done
into a well-oiled machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But,
that's that. And I think it's just a matter of time now before we lose our partnership there because they're dropping like 250,000
They're
channels or some
downsizing a
crazy
lot.
shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we've been kind of shopping around for networks just in case, but we haven't gotten an email or heard from them. So as of right now,
No.
we're fine.
We're
I mean,
still
we're happy
there.
there. It is what it is. We get paid. It's not like we're making money off YouTube anyway, but
Like $0.
yeah, if I were to keep it the same now with these guys, it wouldn't bug me any. I get paid on time. It's whatever. We get a fair CPM, but it is what it is. But yeah, that is the story in a nutshell. I know we gave you some other backstory as well, but at the time it was just crazy. And then obviously when we switched over networks and I had got that big chunk of money, that was when I went out and bought a new car. That was when I went and bought the Lancer because I then had money for a down payment on the car, and I was able to quit my day job fully with no remorse or second guessing myself. And my boss said, "You have a job waiting for you if this doesn't work out." So it was an easy jump for me, and I never looked back ever. I wasn't like Adam that overthought everything and tried to calculate everything. This was it. This was do or die for me. So I didn't really care. But having that scam happen, I know it was really tough on Adam. It was tough on me as well, but it made me a better business person. It made me I learned from that mistake. It's a mistake that cost me $6,000 or whatever, but it was one that I'll never make the same mistake again. Not only in terms of the contract with Machinima, it being the 3-year, the in perpetuity bullshit they had on their contracts for all their channels, but also dealing with the scam artist on the internet and realizing that I was naive, and that's the thing. And I honestly wouldn't take it back for anything. That was a valuable lesson to be learned, and I'm happy that we learned it at the beginning before. I shouldn't say before any other real success, because I guess that was sort of the peak for LAGTV anyway. But I'm happy that it happened there than, Prime Stream and those sort of things where it could have, like your parents said, destroy you, like literally destroy you. Not only financially, but just mentally, like just take you out. So that was the Technical Alpha DLC. I don't know if Adam wants to add anything else. It's getting late. It's like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, hey man, we went. We didn't get a lot of Panic. I wanted to give Panic his DLC. I wanted to give Panic a chance to talk about something before we ended, though, because it was literally just you and I for the last hour and 20 minutes.
Fuck you, Panic.
This is Jeff's revenge for that first episode, where he had the little tear rolling down his eye. No, it's all right. This was an Adam and Jeff Machinima moment. Like, I'm sure for the other DLCs that will probably happen based on how dirty you motherfuckers are.
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on how well this goes over. If people want to see more of these, obviously it's not going to be a weekly thing.
No, good Lord, no.
It'll be when we're in the mood.
But I do want to ask Panic something. All
right,
for sure.
All
right. So we've had our fair share of hills and bumps and whatever and potholes, but this is only one of the many stories that happened over the years. I know that on the side of everything you've done, you've entered the foray in terms of managing people and being a part of that process, and you've seen the people that you managed make terrible life choices and everything. Are there any moments that you can think of that were particularly ridiculous over the years that was a hard learned lesson or just a kind of a crazy moment with this whole thing?
Man, I would say, and again, this is like bordering on a lot of the people I work with, I'm still friends with.
Yeah.
But for with the exception of one person, I would actually, if I would go back, I would not have worked with most of them. Um, with the exception, actually the one person that I would have worked with is actually the T-shirt I'm wearing. Nate, he was one of the best people I work with. But yeah, no, I've just learned a valuable lesson time and time again. Don't get into a hazy or undefined business relationship with friends. It over time, it gets rough, it gets bad. Between the three of us, we all have learned this lesson. So we have our own dynamics going. But yeah, like in terms of managing streamers and content producers, from my background and my perspective, it's really difficult. Like I'm closer to Adam in personality than I am with Jeff, in terms of just professionalism and career, in mentality. Jeff from the business side is very strong, but from personality's perspective, he's more lively. I'm very much try to plan things out. I can adapt and roll with things if they don't quite work out. But from my career, I'm used to working with people who know what's going on, working with people who are well informed, not just about their stuff, but other things that are going on. I found, especially with Twitch streamers and content producers in general, they're younger. They skew younger. They don't tend to know a lot of just basic life skills. Some of my clients, I've had to teach them the basics of credit. I've had to teach them to, hey, if you get a $500 donation, don't spend $500 immediately because you might get that charge back and then you don't have the money. I taught most of my clients, this is what a spreadsheet is. This is like, and it'll be things like and again, most of the people I work with, and when I started with them, I started with asking them simple questions. And I'm sure you guys can probably answer this now, but early on it took a little bit. But it's just like, what's your average viewer count, over the course of a month? What are your trends that you know about? What's your average daily income from a stream? Those are the types of questions that when I would ask, I would just get a blank stare from some of them, and then others would be like, I can probably go figure that out, but I need like an hour. And it's just like, no, as a business, or if you're trying to make this your life as a business, you need to be able to answer that like that, like immediately, like that. Those are like, that's your lifeblood right there. You need to know, because you need to know your expenses, you need to know all that. And I've just found with a lot of the content producers, it's different now, but back then,
yeah,
no one knew that stuff.
Well, I
They
think,
just didn't do it.
you know what, man, it's honestly not that different now.
Yeah,
I
surprisingly.
I talked to quite a few content providers that come to me for advice. Some know what they're doing to an extent, and they come for more of intermediate advice. But there are some that come to me and literally ask me these general ass questions like, do I have to claim my money as income, or how just some of the dumbest questions.
Like, you should know this.
Yeah, but what the problem
They're not
is
stupid questions. They're smart questions.
They're smart. Thank you. Yeah. It's shit that it's almost
like you
common
should have looked
sense.
into this already.
Yeah, but you know what it is? It's, you got these young people that are coming into money from playing video games, and they were used to playing video games forever. Obviously without the money, and so since they don't have a schedule, since they don't have a boss and a place to be and a time, and it's not like actually going to work, they don't really look at it as work. And so obviously when they work at a job, say they're working at Walmart, they know they have a schedule, they know they get paid an hourly rate. Like you said, if you said, hey, how much money do you make in a day of streaming? They don't know. But if you go, how much money do you make at Walmart an hour? They're going to tell you $10.58. Or what is your take home after two pays?
You should be able to break down your stream income by hour.
What is it? What is a T4? Right? Obviously, they know what it is at Walmart. Well, why don't you know what it is for your company? Or do you have a company? Or it's just a lot of these things, and it's just a maturity level. And I never, and Adam said it right. I know I said it was a stupid question. Adam's totally right. None of that is a dumb question, and it is good that they do ask those things.
It's intelligent that they're asking. Something they
right?
should have researched. Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is when they're asking, they either see another streamer say, "Oh, I'm dealing with taxes," or their parents are like, what are you doing with all this money? And then they realize like, whoa, I'm adulting right now. I am doing
that word drives me insane.
I am adulting right now, and it is really hard to go
Adulting
from
so hard.
having everything and structured for you. When you're at a regular job, they take out your taxes and they pay you, and you get an hourly rate, and you get so much vacation time, and it's very structured. And most people need structure in their life like that. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I managed to get my taxes done in an hour and a half. That's how well, it's like if you know what's going on, you can do your taxes real quick.
Yep.
Again, for you guys, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to deal with like your receipts and your deductible and all the other stuff. In my particular case, I'm like, I have all my documents aside. I don't have any crazy exceptions like going around other than some expenses. So for me, in and out. But I've seen, like, again, some of the other streamer people I work with, weeks. They've been spending weeks looking at their taxes, being like, I'm not sure how to do this. I'm like, did you talk to an accountant?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I do that? I'm like, it's literally their job to figure out taxes and stuff. You can go to them, pay them like $100, and they'll do your taxes for you. And they're like, yeah, but that's $100. I'm like, yeah, but you've spent like 2 weeks doing this, and you still don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
Don't you think it's worth $100 at this point?
I fully,
like, oh,
totally agree.
It's definitely. I think it's definitely the Panic talked in the beginning there. I think it's definitely the biggest part of it is the age.
Yeah, it's kind of an age thing.
More now than it was in the past. The age keeps getting younger and younger and younger. You're seeing 16-year-old kids doing this shit, and some of them have 400 and 500 viewers, and they're making pretty good money. And it's not like in school they teach you how to do any of this shit. They don't teach you how to do your taxes. They don't teach you how to balance
you don't learn
a
life
budget.
skills.
They learn nothing life skills in school, and then they start making more money than all of their friends doing regular ass jobs.
They're making
where all
more
this
than
is
their
handled for
parents.
them.
More
Exactly.
than their parents, literally.
And but they're still in that mindset. They just left school.
A lot of the people I work with make more than I do, and then originally they were just like, and that kind of goes into one of the other parts is there's like a big general sense of entitlement in a lot of the younger content producers.
Of course.
I've had people come up to me and be like, oh, why should I be paying you for the information you give me? You should want to help me. And I'm just like, well, fuck that.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people do that. And I'm just like, seriously, like, I've literally built you up from here to here. As just like and then others would go, and again, I've had a bunch of clients and many of them have been fantastic. But, I've had a couple that have just been like, they go out and do interviews or they go out and do things and they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I put myself here, I did everything. This is how I got here on my own. And then, me and my partner at the time were just standing there. We're like, wait, what?
I've always, whenever I've done interviews,
you guys are awesome,
or anything like that. Even if you're not here, and I'm telling my humble beginnings, I always talk about Panic. I always talk about Simon. I always talk about certain.
It's not
people
even a
in
matter
the
about
community
ego.
and
It's just
shit.
like you guys know the roots, and it's not like you guys acknowledge that, like, you know what, this was like a community that built this.
Yep. We didn't get here by
that's
ourselves.
kind of
I'll
a big
say
thing.
that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here now by ourselves, right? So,
It's all due to like the viewers and everyone out there listening, hopefully listening. Okay, maybe I'm a little sellout.
Just a minor.
We'll teach you. We'll
just
teach
a minor
you.
bit. You
We'll
will
teach
learn.
you.
You will learn. Well, we can wrap it up there, I guess. That was a good go. We're another hour and a half or so deep on this DLC, the filthiest, most hilariously ironic add-on to whatever we could have possibly done after that podcast.
We'll
I
see.
asked
We'll see
Jeff
if we
how he
get
feels
the,
about that.
We'll
how
see.
he feels about his rant.
You know what?
and this.
I kind of liked it, because it gave us, on a typical podcast, we've got a bunch of
Let loose.
topics and it's great, but here we got to spend an hour and a half on just talking about one thing, and it isn't as structured, and it's, super laid back. I know this wouldn't be a good formula for a regular ass podcast to be doing this every time, but, for some DLC, I think, hey, I may be against DLC, but like I agreed with Adam, there are some good DLC out there that's worth, and I think we may have just produced a worth DLC.
Oh,
Hashtag worth DLC.
If
and
it
if you
comes out
guys
3
think,
months from now, we
and
can't
if
be
you
blamed
guys think
for
it
on
was
disc.
worth, you guys can go to iTunes and give us that 5-star rating for that DLC hype.
Oh, savage.
Oh. We'll talk more DLC when we hit that 3,500 or the 350 Patreons. We'll talk
exactly
next level DLC because I've got all kinds of. We can talk stories. We can fucking do, dude. I've got so much shit. I mean, I've shared a lot of stuff on stream over the years, but for LAGTV, we haven't really been able to go into, really deep, heavy shit. Like we haven't been able to get into it. Because it's always been, we've got 10, 15 minutes on a StarCraft cast to kind of,
exactly,
get some quips in and that's the show. But in this formula, there is so much. I mean, I don't know about you, but I kind of want to hear Adam's story about him busting his ball sack and it turned into a soccer ball. I would love all LAGTV to hear that one. I know he shared it on the stream and shit.
That's a long story too.
It's a good one.
Oh, it could happen. It could happen. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen,
there's MLG Columbus, MLG Anaheim, all those fun stories too.
Oh, and you know what?
MLG
Lastly, I did go to MLG and I saw the dude that scammed us in my hotel.
Oh, that's right.
That.
He stayed at the same hotel as me. And
was that MLG or NASL?
It was MLG.
I was there too.
I do believe you were, but you weren't. Were you? Oh yeah, I think you might have actually been there with me when it happened.
I was there.
We were in the lobby. I
wanted to kill him.
He was there with like two black dudes because he was in the Halo or some shooter.
Yeah, he had a group of guys there for Halo.
He had his own
team.
He had his own team or some shit.
Fuck! I wanted to kill him. He was right in front of me, and I was a meat stick back then. I wanted to just friggin' break him in
was
half.
on roid rage at the time.
He was Chris Redfield.
Now I'm Jill Valentine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for this DLC and whatever the hell else we want to call it. Thank you so much for listening. And of course, since you're hearing this, thank you for likely helping us get to the point that we set in front of you. We'll be back again, basically every Friday. We can't end this like we do every other time, but I'll still shout out our Patreon producers. I can still do that.
Yeah, get her done.
Let's hit them up. Big thank you to B-Stall Kid, Mr. Miyagi, Adam B, Total Steel, Naily, J.A, Derek, I need to go to bed. Derek P, Derek, Jonathan A, Fry C, and Ice Wolfie. Oh my good Lord in heaven. Thank you once again, guys, and until we see you on the next one, peace!